There were 37,000 knife offences in England and Wales in 2017, and there's been a 21% increase in the last 12 months. Gun crime has increased to 6,500 in the past 12 months. Stabbings in London are at their highest level in 6 years, with a 23% rise from the previous year. There has been 12,980 knife crimes. Will the stabbings stop by just taking the knives away? How do we plan on surviving the state?
What changes have I seen in the past few years? A lot of like new developments. I've also seen like places being knocked down. A lot of people being moved out of their homes, but for something else to be there. So there's been a lot of governmental control in the area.
People who used to live here seem to be haven't sort of benefited from all the changes.
Brooklyn has a history. I mean, you've got the Huguenot, you've got the Jewish community, you have the Pakistani community, you have the Turkish communities who have come here and started their business, they developed and moved on. And we're seeing the same trend with the Bangladeshi community. As some of the businesses are closing, they're not closing because that they want to move on, but it's the economy. I mean, the rent and rates have gone up extortionately. So this is one of the things that is actually diverting them away from here.
I live in southeast London, so in Peckham. Most of my time in London has been in East London, and I moved to Peckham maybe 5 years ago. East London, for example, where our studio has been here for over 10 years, and it concerns me they've made these huge apartment blocks which are very overpriced flats for very rich people. When you get permission from the council to be able to build on these flats, some of them have to be for council tenants. And so the ones, I think it's called Aldgate 1, and that one, for example, has pour doors at the back. So the people who are council tenants have to use the pour doors. This is what's happening to London. You know, this is what's becoming. There's a huge divide between rich and poor.
And this area is a classic example where, you know, there are big council, what used to be council estates here, but now a lot of them are privately owned because people had the right to buy them 20 or 30 years ago, and they're now a lot of them in the hands of private landlords who don't live here but rent them at astronomical rates. And so it's a lot of people are being dislocated. You know, a lot of people are having to move to areas they don't know because they can't afford to buy.
All the youth provisions that were put in place have been taken away, and now the youngsters have nowhere to go and nowhere to seek good advice from, no role models. And where my area right now is like become a big sort of monopoly of real estate.
Jojo Nsanka, 19. Kumari Sarankuma Barnes, 15. David Ajabita, 19. Abdi Fattah Shike, 19. Karim Sams, 16. Abdulhahi Tarabi, 19. Jordan Wright, 19.
So gentrification in the area I live in is having a big impact on everyone, especially young people, because it's happening at a pace where no one really knows it's happening, and no one knows the consequences of it happening. So there is so many new construction projects, new flats are getting built, new houses are getting built. Now there's new houses, new flats, there's a new influx of people, and this new influx of people, they're gonna need a place to stay. And because there is this label of people of color being violent and drug dealers and whatnot, they won't, this new influx of people, they won't want to be neighbors and they won't want to integrate with a community like ours. So gentrification is having a massive impact because it's very biased towards a particular set of people.
I mean, it's not just in this area, it's right across the country, across the world.
In East London in general, there's a lot of gentrification. I think it's a horrible thing. It just takes away, like, the areas are a lot less raw.
It does have to be taken into account as well that the artists who are now being moved out in their own way, or I have to say in our own way, we were like a first wave of gentrification as well, and that can't be avoided. Like, you get people around like Hackney Wick now who are like, oh, the community's being moved out, but it's these artist communities that kind of are the first ones that get lured into an area while the rent is still cheap, and then that raises the value of the area, and then once it's raised to a certain point, then they get moved out as well. But to be fair, there was communities that were being moved out of these neighbourhoods first anyways.
Grandmother that you never knew, who came here on a boat with the old world nestled between her shoulder blades and a baby in her arms, single-handedly split language in half like Moses did the sea, only for broken words to try to swallow her whole. It's like 150 generations of crooked noses and splitting blood made exile their home and built a holy land out of unforgiving loneliness that followed them from place to place.
Mohammed Hassan, 17. Elijah Dormali, 17. Joel Ricardo Gomes, 18. Abdiraham Mohammed, 17. Osman Sharif, 16. Mahad Ali, 18. Joshua Bualia, 16. Subhan Khan, 18. Daniel Manga, 19. Jermaine Gopal, 15.
One thing that we lack in London, which is recreational space for young people. When young people have things to do, they have recreational areas or facilities available, they are going to be away from antisocial behavior.
Spaces where young people could go, accompanied as a group, like playing sports together, meeting, having like a mutual spaces where everybody could come. I think those spaces have either been sold off to developers or they just don't exist anymore.
There isn't a place where young people can go where they can make friends or they can meet new people. So I think when they have this stereotype of what area they're from and what they've grown up seeing, they sometimes just continue that cycle. So unless someone or people stand up and make a difference, then it will just continue, I think.
It's affected me because I'm seeing every day the consequences. I look at the young people in my community and I see that they have been blinded by this street corner indoctrination they've been put through, where they have to fit that stereotype or they won't feel cool in society. And there was a time where there was provisions put in place where even myself would go and speak to someone about these sort of problems and there would be changes. Now there isn't, and now the young people, they have no voice. They have no youth provisions, there is no recreational centres, there's no role models for them. Everything's been taken away. And in replace, we have new built houses and neighbourhood patrol and CCTV.
Abdul Mayanja, 19. Corey Junior Davis, 14. Saif Abdul Majid, 18. Aren Mali, 17. Michael Jonas, 17. Kasim Mukrane, 18. Jason Isaac, 18.
Youth clubs help a lot because they can go in there and it prevents them from getting into gangs and doing stuff that they probably shouldn't be doing outside, like drugs and fights and stuff. Yeah.
I needed someone to talk to and somewhere to go where I wouldn't feel judged. And we had these youth centres, we had fantastic youth workers who, like myself, went through these sort of problems. And it differentiated from school because in school I couldn't talk to my teachers about these sort of things that I was going through, whereas youth workers, they know about these sort of things and they have the solutions. They come up with ways that I can tackle this. We need to be heard. And we need to be heard as a community, not individually. because the same things that are happening in my area is happening everywhere, all across London. And migrant families and people of colour are being targeted and are being profiled and forced away from their homes and constantly looked down upon. And we need to change that. And I think the biggest change I look forward to seeing and I hope to see is youth centres and, you know, a chance for young people to have a platform where they can be where they can speak of all the problems that's going on.
I think young Hackney does quite a bit for this as well, because you're in a secure place, you're not loitering about, you're not messing about, less likely to be into stupidness. And I think sports helps with this as well, because those that are playing football in teams, you know, they're not out and about, they've got something, they feel a purpose now. That focus on sports, so like boxing, football, basketball, it gives them something to put all their energy into.
There's lots of evidence that shows that where there's youth provision, you know, proper youth provision, I mean, not just kind of, you know, ordinary stuff, it does make a big difference if people are doing the right kind of work with young people.
We don't really have enough space. I think more green space, for me, more green space, more open space, more growing food space. I think spaces that community run would that's what I would bring.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see more opportunities for the youth and maybe more second chances for them.
Look at the history of this city. The churning of bodies has been routine here. This city is our everything and nothing at the same time. Here lie the culture makers, a culture birthed, a culture policed, a culture reinvented. This city has its own warped cycle of life, rigged with potholes. A city that bears the fruits of the rotten empire, but feed none to its people, where children become experts of trickle-down economics as they watch wealth dance out of their centres and into offshore accounts, gawping at how the shards of glass reflect the homeless, and how the homeless reflect us as a people, as we stutter with our rude stories and screwed faces, where apartments are built tall to be condescending, to remind us that the sky is not the limit, it's the absence of rent caps that are.